If a zombie apocalypse were to break out right this moment, do you think you'd survive? What's up, Rad family? If you have seen pretty much any of my videos in the past, I'm sure you've heard me by now talk about how much I love anything and everything to do with zombies. I mean, look at my background. There's a lot of zombie stuff going on. So movies, TV shows, comic books, anything to do with zombies, I'm interested. So throughout the years, I've kind of accumulated a mental list of tips and tricks on how to survive the zombie apocalypse. Now, I'm not saying I think it's going to happen one day, but you can never be too safe, and it's kind of fun to think about what you would do in a situation. So without further ado, here are my top 10 tips and tricks on how to survive a zombie apocalypse if it were to happen. So let's get to it. Tip number 1. These tips are kind of going in chronological order of the different stages of the zombie apocalypse. So the very first tip, and one I think is the most important, is to watch the news. If on television they're telling you something crazy is going on outside and that you should stay inside and lock your doors, well then you should stay inside and lock your doors because something crazy is going on outside, and it is not worth it to go see for yourself. You can watch TV. There are people who will be doing it anyways and probably ending up as zombie food and then adding to the chaos of the zombie apocalypse. And just think about it. If everybody stayed inside, it could be contained and probably wouldn't result in the end of the world. So, stay inside. Tip number 2, when things get crazy, people tend to get crazy too. So a lot of looting and rioting will inevitably be happening in the beginning stages of the zombie apocalypse. And while supplies are incredibly important to keep you alive, your life is not worth fighting over a can of soup. If everyone is in fear of their life and feeding for their families, everyone's going to obviously rush out to Walmart and fight for what food there is there. And it's not worth it, because realistically you're not going to get enough food within that scourge to even make it a few days. So it's best just to stay calm, maybe get with nearby family and friends and gather every single thing you guys have in the cupboard. Even if it's something disgusting and probably expired, grab it, because it will no doubt come in handy in the future. So don't try to go to Walmart when the news says zombies are walking the earth. Tip number 3. Now, if you're somebody that doesn't have any family or friends nearby and your cupboards are pretty bare, you are eventually going to go out. And if that is the case, make sure before you ever step foot into a building, you know every single exit. Because if there is already somebody ill inside, which in the beginning stage of the zombie virus, from the movies we have seen, people don't seem to understand that sickness and bite equates to zombies somehow. One person can turn a whole store full of people into lunch. So know your exits and be as quick and as efficient as you can, and don't be picky. Whatever you can see, yeah, grab it, because unfortunately when the world comes to an end, your taste buds take a back seat. Tip number 4. And when you're outside looking for supplies or shelter or other people, dress protectively. The weather might not call for jeans and a jacket, but we have seen an extra layer of clothing can mean the difference of life and death, because it can protect you from a zombie tooth, which would then turn you into a zombie. Unless it's airborne, then you should probably wear a mask too. Actually, you should probably wear a mask anyways, because you wouldn't know how the zombie virus is spread initially. So protective clothing is a must. Even if you're sweaty and it's ugly, it don't matter, because you want to live, right? Not only will the extra layer of clothing potentially protect you from scratches and bites, it will also add a layer of protection against branches and bushes if you have to run through the wild. Getting a cut could equal getting an infection, and getting an infection in the zombie apocalypse can be just as bad as a zombie bite itself. Tip number 5. Whenever you leave the safety of your shelter, make sure you have a plan. Know exactly where you're going, who you're going with, what time you want to be back by. Obviously, if you don't have a clock, make it a rough estimate, and make sure you know your way back. And make sure you tell somebody your plan, because if shit hits the fan, you don't want to be out there on your own and no one know where you're at to come help you. That being said, you want to make sure you have a backup to that plan. And then you want to make sure you have a backup to the backup of the plan, because life does not go as planned. Obviously, if there's a zombie apocalypse happening, something did not go as planned, unless you are planning for a zombie apocalypse, which I guess would make sense because you're watching this video. Tip number 6, whenever it comes time to relocate for safety reasons, an extreme climate or terrain will really benefit you. In the mountains, in the desert, on an island, in the snow, anywhere where there would supply something difficult for a zombie to navigate. As we have seen, they typically, unless you have the 28 days version, which good luck if you do, they are not strong, they are not fast, they are not smart. So trying to swim or navigate through the mountains is going to prove very, very difficult for them. So that will buy you time and add security for you and the people you are with. Tip number 7, there is power in numbers, people. Countless times in movie plots, groups want to get smaller and they want to separate, or people don't trust other people, and that proves a fatal decision on their part. And granted, the zombie apocalypse will probably bring out the worst in a lot of people, so you should be very cautious of encountering strangers. But that being said, not every single person is your enemy. The more people you have with you, the more people you have to fight against them and against bad people, and they can help get supplies, and they can maybe have talents and skills that you do not possess, so it will help you build a community. Having more people is incredibly important, especially if something were to happen to you. If you were to get injured or get bit, or you were to get sick, you would need someone there to either take care of the other people with you or to take care of you. So be a little more trusting at the end of the world, because we could all probably use somebody. Tip number 8, oh my goodness, people. At the end of the world, who cares who sees you go to the bathroom? There have been so many times in movies that I have seen someone say, oh, I have to go pee. Let me walk half a mile into the brush where no one can see what's happening, and then they get attacked by a zombie. Well, no shit, that's going to happen. It's the end of the world. People do not care if they see your butt crack. If you have to poop, poop nearby, people. It's not a big deal. Gosh, I had to get that off my chest. That's always something that really irritates me in movies. Tip number 9, your car can be a lifeline, so make sure you keep it stocked and well equipped for if things were to happen. Preferably have a spare tire or have multiple cans of Fix-A-Flat. Have a jug of water and some coolant and some basic tools. Have extra canisters of gasoline. Whatever is car related, try to make sure you have it in your trunk. Whenever you're trying to find supplies, make sure that is at the top of your list. Because if you are stranded in the middle of nowhere and your car breaks down, or you're stranded near a huge horde of zombies, having that flat tire can result in your death. So definitely do not neglect your car, and don't assume bad things won't happen, because it's the zombie apocalypse. Bad things are already happening. And tip number 10, we're ending this silly list on a very important tip. Check your back seat before you get into your car. Now this is important just in everyday life. You don't need a zombie apocalypse to make sure you check your back seat. You don't know if a person's hiding back there, a zombie somehow got in there. Well, a zombie wouldn't get in there in real life, but you know what I mean. Always check your car before you get into it, and once you're in it, make sure you lock your doors. George A. Romero's Dawn of the Dead was my very first zombie movie, and that movie taught me to lock my doors as soon as I get into my car, even when I'm driving, because someone can try to get you out of that car because they want your car, and then you're fucked. So lock your doors. And there you guys have my top 10 survival tips in the zombie apocalypse. Now, I have not lived through the zombie apocalypse, nor am I saying we will, but this list I think would prove useful in that time of need. And I think there are some useful tips in here that you guys can take away for your everyday lives. Thank you guys so very much for watching today's Rad Chat. I had a lot of fun making this. I can't believe I haven't made this before already. If you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up because that'd really help out this channel. And if you're new to this community, make sure you turn on the bell notifications to be notified when the next rad, creepy video goes live. Until next time, keep up the radness, and I'll see you real soon. Preferably not in a zombie apocalypse.